All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where I'm going to be your lead engineer walking you through the absolute massive AI release notes and system updates that just hit our desks. Look, if you're a developer, an enthusiast, or literally anyone working with large language models right now, you already know the landscape is shifting daily. We've got a lot of commits to review today, covering everything from raw infrastructure scaling all the way down to some critical security patches. But first, just think about that for a second. What actually happens when a model manages 300 AI workers at once? Think about the sheer infrastructure, the memory allocation, and the container orchestration required to pull that off without a complete system-wide crash. We aren't just prompting single chatbots anymore, right? We're spinning up entire autonomous ecosystems. Today's tech drops are all about this immense scale. We're talking about capabilities that would have flat-out crashed our servers just a few months ago. So, here is our sprint backlog for this explainer. First, new models and massive compute. 2, AI business deals and dollars. 3, defense contracts and backlash. 4, global regulations and workarounds. And finally, breakthroughs and security bugs. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. New models and massive compute. Let's see how the hardware is scaling up.
There is a really fascinating feature gap we're seeing in the market right now. Elon Musk's xAI just pushed Grok 4.3, and honestly, it's a beast of an update. It can autonomously build full PowerPoint decks and populate complex Excel sheets, but for us developers, the real standout feature is its ability to ingest and analyze full video files. That is a heavy, multimodal capability, requiring massive context windows, and it's something that a leading competitor like Anthropic's Claude simply lacks in its current production build.
Now think about the number 4,000. China just dropped K2, also known as Kimi. It's a completely free open-source AI model that is reportedly outperforming both Claude and Gemini on humanity's last exam. If you aren't familiar, that's a famously brutal benchmark designed by experts specifically to stump state-of-the-art systems. And how is it doing this? Because it can manage over 4,000 tool calls and coordinate 300 simultaneous AI workers at the exact same time. The open-source community is just moving at breakneck speed right now.
And speaking of massive scale, check out this hardware allocation. SpaceX has officially partnered up with Cursor AI, which is a tool a ton of us are using daily, to grant them access to the Colossus supercomputer. We are talking about spinning up training clusters on roughly 1 million H100 GPUs. They're using this truly unprecedented compute power to train highly specialized engineering models. Just imagine the training episodes and the batch sizes you can push through 1 million H100s. It's wild.
Moving on to Section 2, AI business deals and dollars. Let's look at the monetization strategies.
So Microsoft and OpenAI just heavily refactored their partnership contract. Previously, OpenAI was strictly locked into Microsoft's Azure cloud, but now they have the freedom to sell their models on competing cloud providers. And even bigger than that, they completely scrapped a highly controversial clause. Under the old deal, Microsoft shared OpenAI's revenue and certain IP rights up until the milestone of achieving artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Well, that AGI clause has now been entirely ripped out of the codebase. The crucial thing here is connecting that massive contract shift to internal metrics. It recently came to light that OpenAI actually missed its internal revenue goal during the first quarter. And this comes right on the heels of their flagship ChatGPT interface missing its user growth goals. So it perfectly explains exactly why they might need that newfound flexibility to deploy on competing cloud architectures. They need to drive new revenue streams.
And for those of us actually pushing code, our billing APIs are getting an update too. Microsoft-owned GitHub announced they are changing the pricing model for Copilot. The base subscription fee is staying intact, but they are introducing metered billing, meaning they are now going to charge additional fees based entirely on how much AI you are actually using to write your code. The more requests you send, the more you pay. So it's definitely time to make absolutely sure you don't have an AI agent caught in an infinite while loop or your Azure bill is going to absolutely skyrocket.
Meanwhile, over at Meta, a massive transaction just got rolled back from production. Meta is actively preparing to unwind its massive $2 billion acquisition of the AI agent application known as Manus. And the reason? Chinese regulators stepped in and directly ordered the parties involved to completely revoke the transaction.
That brings us to Section 3. Defense contracts and backlash. Let's talk about classified environments.
According to someone with knowledge of the situation,
Google and the Department of Defense have signed a deal allowing the Pentagon to utilize Google's AI models for classified work. What's particularly notable from a policy perspective is the exact wording of the contract. The agreement states the Pentagon can use Google's AI for any lawful government purpose. And that specific phrasing echoes language that has historically been a major point of controversy in other tech and defense discussions.
And internally, this deployment triggered immediate resistance. More than 600 Google employees have signed a formal letter directed to Google CEO Sundar Pichai. The letter explicitly asks him to reject this proposed deal with the DoD regarding the use of their AI on classified work. So we're really seeing real, tangible friction between corporate deployment goals and internal developer ethics here.
Section 4. Global Regulations and Workarounds. Let's look at how networks are routing around these rules.
Now, this is a classic workaround. Anthropic has very strict prohibitions against the use of its Claude models within China. However, Chinese tech giant Tencent managed to bypass these regional restrictions entirely. They actually utilized Anthropic's Claude to assist in the evaluation and benchmarking of Tencent's own latest AI model. It just goes to show that in the world of cloud APIs, geofencing and regional routing restrictions are incredibly difficult to actually enforce.
Finally, Section 5, Breakthroughs and Security Bugs. We've got a major postmortem and a huge feature drop.
Let's walk through the exact execution steps of the recent Versal security breach. It started super simply. Users within the network installed what was described as a pretty AI app. But here was the fatal vulnerability. The app requested excessive permissions during the OAuth flow. I mean, we've all blindly clicked approve on an OAuth screen before, right? But hackers exploited these over-permission tokens to entirely bypass multi-factor authentication protocols, which allow them to extract and steal sensitive internal data. So here is your immediate security patch recommendation for the day. Honestly, do not wait on this. You need to go in and audit your Google Workspace environments right now. Look at those API access logs and completely remove and revoke access for any unused or third-party AI tools. If you aren't actively using an AI integration, kill its permissions to protect your internal data. Just cut the access. Okay, let's end on a high note with a genuinely groundbreaking new feature available to consumers. Thanks to AI, individuals can now actually decode their own DNA right at home. Utilizing advanced models like Google DeepMind's Alpha Genome, you can process this incredibly complex biological data yourself for around $1,100. It is a stunning example of AI translating massive, complex datasets into highly personal, accessible tools for everyday people. Which leaves us with this final thought. We're actively watching open-source models natively coordinate 300 autonomous workers, while at the exact same time, supercomputers are scaling up to 1 million H100 GPUs for single training runs. The sheer velocity of these updates is just staggering. So I have to ask you, if this is what today's changelog looks like, what is version 2.0 of this landscape going to look like tomorrow? Stay curious, keep building, and I will catch you in the next explainer.